Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of Free Refill. This is episode number 61. 61 episodes of Free Refill, and it's still going strong. What a week of NBA playoffs as we are now have concluded round one. We now move on to round two, and there is a lot to dive into with all four matchups are incredibly enticing. Starting off tonight at 8 o'clock, roughly probably 8:15 tip-off, because let's be honest, they never start on time. We've got the Philadelphia 76ers, who came back down 3-1 against Boston. They will be facing off against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden for a Game 1 matchup. After the Knicks just completely obliterated the Atlanta Hawks, sent them into, outer space, may as well have. Sent them into the darkest, deepest corner. Sent them to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. That's how bad they brutalized them. There was a difference in 50. It is just ridiculous. That'll tip us off tonight. Then later tonight, the Minnesota Timberwolves will be facing off against the San Antonio Spurs. The youthful Spurs. It feels weird saying that just based off previous Spurs regimes. But the Spurs being the young team, trying to knock off a team that's kind of not necessarily young, but definitely has more experience, the Minnesota Timberwolves. And big news, despite the fact that he has a hyperextended knee and a bone bruise, just a couple weeks later, he's apparently cleared as long as he gets through pregame warm-up and all that. If he is ready to go, we could very well be seeing Anthony Edwards going up against Victor Wembanyama for Game 1 of Spurs Timberwolves. And then, of course, the other two matchups being the Cavs-Pistons. Cavs storming down back from a 3-1 deficit and also a 24-point hole in Game 6. They stave off elimination. They avoid the upset against the 8-seeded Magic. They will then be hosting tomorrow against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who just fought a tough Game 7 themselves against the upstart Toronto Raptors. Not a single road game won there. Only home teams were able to triumph there. It'll be Cleveland's finesse versus Detroit's toughness and grit. So it should be an entertaining series there. And then finally, the LA Lakers will look to do the unthinkable. Really, the LA LeBrons look to do the unthinkable. Can they down the Thunder, who have been sitting on plenty of rest after their series sweep against the Phoenix Suns? So definitely a lot to get into with all four of these series. I will be predicting where I think these series are going to go moving forward, because I was definitely not right on all of them. I did ultimately, if I started at the beginning, I would have said, Pistons would have won. I did have Cavs. I think the only one I didn't really have was, I don't think I would have had the 76ers beating the Celtics. And the Timberwolves beating the Nuggets, especially beating the Nuggets after injuries, certainly shocked me as well. But it's looking like a very fun, very entertaining rest of the playoffs. And without further ado, we have no other choice but to hop right into it, getting into the first series that'll take us through. I'm kind of going to talk about also what the teams did previously in the series, so my apologies if I don't get right into Knicks versus 76ers. I do kind of want to talk about their path here based on the previous round. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, wherever you are, wherever you may be listening. Let's get round in and let's get started with the New York Knicks versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Starting with, let's start with the New York Knicks. The question, not even the question marks, the way they came in against Atlanta, especially early, definitely had sort of what I would call maybe flashbacks, little concerns, especially after being down 2-1 very early with the way CJ McCollum was looking. But the Knicks, they went on after going down 2-1. They won the next 3 games. They closed it out in 6 with probably the biggest one of, if not the biggest, exclamation points I've seen to close out a series. A 50, what was it? I don't think the final was 50, but it was very close. It was at least 45 plus shellacking of the Atlanta Hawks. Congratulations. CJ McCollum hitting a big lead. a big three to cut the lead to 47. Just what a statement win by the New York Knicks, and what a statement win overall, particularly for someone like Karl Anthony Towns. I think we're seeing more of the Knicks, and this might be, I think I already may have said this last week, but talking about the Knicks in general, one of the biggest takeaways from this series is how important Karl Anthony Towns is to this team. And not that we didn't know that. He's obviously the one of, if not the top option, especially when Brunson's not on the court. But in terms of his ability to be a facilitator in this offense, which really is not something we've seen to the level we saw it in the series against Atlanta, and it certainly wasn't us to the same level we had seen particularly in Minnesota when he had done it there. I think what he's done, and not just the fact that he can facilitate the offense, but also the fact that while he's getting good looks and getting his guys open to make plays, he's also scoring, which you would think traditionally, being a facilitator, especially from a big man perspective, a lot of those points would tend to fade. They didn't. They didn't really interrupt with his scoring at all. And I think in a series coming in against the 76ers, I think that would be 100% something that you would want to capitalize on if you are the New York Knicks. I mean, I think that's where the offense has to go. I don't really think it can not that it can't flow through Brunson, but I think when you look at the 76ers, let's say Boston, this happened. All right, I will be right back. I really get bothered. You know, sometimes this is not what I asked for. That's still not great either. I'm still getting drop frames. Okay, hold on. That looks like it may have fixed it. Okay. It really reset the whole stream too. That sucks. Oh my gosh. All right. Regardless. Oh, I hate when that happens, man. It's so annoying. I just reset stream and then there it is. It does it again. And now it's going to notify me. It's going to give me a little vroom, vroom on my dang phone. I'm going to be like, well, guess what? About time. About time this thing happened. Did it really reset the whole way? Is my question. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, never mind. I can maybe still have it as a full thing. I'm not sure. Regardless. Okay. Back to where I was, because apparently lagging out, that's super fun. Going back into where even was I? I gotta reset and refocus. Every time I lose my internet, I just lose all focus. Anyway, having the Knicks as having Karl Anthony Towns as a facilitator for the Knicks completely changed their offense in those last 3 games against Atlanta. And I think it's going to change it throughout the entirety of the series. I think most importantly, I think Mike Brown has to recognize, and the hope needs to go, it shouldn't necessarily be through, not that it can't go through Brunson, but I really think it's just so much more effective when it's going through Karl Anthony Towns. And it showed last series. That's up to the Knicks for that, and overall being able to do that. Before I get into what 76ers did with Boston, I got to talk Atlanta for one quick second. That was embarrassing. Not that that was the most embarrassing thing I had ever seen, but that was terrible. It was a nightmare. It was awful. It was a complete and total annihilation and obliteration of... I mean, listen, Atlanta, with all due respect, it's not that I didn't think you were going to beat the Knicks. But to be at home, to be fallen down, and then basically immediately just the game is essentially over. Really? That's not okay. That's just not okay. And I think Atlanta will probably still need, Atlanta is like a team. I don't see Atlanta getting back into the playoffs, especially after that. I think they just don't have, A, they don't have enough of a good roster in general, and B, that's just not going to leave a good taste in pretty much everybody else's mouths going into next series or even next season, because that was gross. Like that really was a nightmare to witness, and I never want to see the Hawks. I don't want to see the Hawks back in the playoffs. Like the Hawks, that was bad. It was just bad all around, and I don't really have any other words for it. Like this, again, they were a team that needed to kind of hit a lot of threes, and the fact that they weren't was bad. But it was not good. It was a nightmare. That was not good. That is not a note that you want to send your team on I mean, getting swept by the Thunder, I'm not happy about, but that's different than losing by 50 points. That's not how you want to go into the next season. It's just not. Gross. Let me get you all invited. Jay, appreciate you for popping out. As always, Jay saying, "Rip RIP to the voice of the Yankees, John Sterling. Been with the Yankees since 1989. Yeah, called the career of Derek Jeter, radio broadcast legend. Yeah, that was I saw that today. Rest in peace to you, to our boy John Sterling. I believe it was it Jeter? Or was it A-Rod? It may have been A-Rod, but I want to say it was Jeter. Put up, said something about him. Put up a little thing about John Sterling. So, pretty awesome career for John Sterling, and it is a shame to see him pass on. It's a shame to see him go because he is a legend in both, not just the New York community, but also especially the baseball community and broadcasting community. And rest in peace to a legend, Mr. John Sterling. You have my utmost respect, good sir. It's a shame to see a great one go. And we also have Marcus in the chat as well. Marcus, let me get you your applause as well. Appreciate you popping out. Saying he also called Hawks NBA games and Braves before he came home to New York. John Sterling was all around a broadcast. You know what? I want to be to the point where I can have that broadcast legend title. I really do. I hope to be like a John Sterling. When I pass, people will be talking about how Philip White called Little League games down in North Carolina or something like that. I don't know. Some little memento of me. That would be really cool if I could get a Sterling-like career. A Sterling, so to speak. And then Jay also saying Steve Mobbs needs to be fired from the Hawks. I think there's a couple people that need to go off from the Hawks, especially Dyson Daniels too. The ejection there late, I was like, I mean, I get why Mitch got ejected and why Dyson got ejected, but yikes, dude! Like that's not the right energy to be bringing when you're down 50. You have to just play better basketball. You can't just throw a little fit. I wouldn't. Personally, I ain't throwing no fit. That's a lie. I probably would. But hey, we're all human. It happens. But yeah, Atlanta needs a lot to fix their mess. As for the other team that lost to the other team in this series, Boston too really was bad, right? Boston was a disgrace. Boston was a disgrace on so many levels because, listen, I get it. I get that, you have... No, actually, take it back. I don't get it. That team was up 3-1, and the context... And I'm going to say this. No one's going to like this, but I'm going to say this. I think Joe Mazzulla is the equivalent of Nick Sirianni I think he's the equivalent of Nick Sirianni. That's what I think. I think him and Sirianni are such similar head coaches. Joe Mazzulla in Boston is the equivalent of Nick Sirianni in Philly. Because they're both high energy, they both say crazy stuff all the time, and both of them stick to a formula and are unable to actually have any amount of change in the offense that they do have. It's ridiculous. What that game? We were out to dinner. Me and the boys were out to dinner on Saturday night. We were watching 76ers Celtics, and I was watching that game sitting there the whole time. Why are the Celtics, who are down 1, hoisting threes every single time they have even a halfway decent look? Get in the paint. Get in the paint and get one bucket. You do not... They were 0 for 7. Read a room. They live by the 3. They die by the 3. And because they feel the need to live by the 3 and die by the 3, they lost. They lost because they couldn't get one simple bucket in the paint. One simple bucket close, inside the arc. They couldn't do it. And they couldn't get a bucket outside the arc either because they kept missing. It was so bad. I don't understand. And that team's got a very good roster. They have no excuses. I don't care that Tatum didn't play. Embiid wasn't fully healthy this series. That doesn't matter. That should have been a win. You should not have blown a 3-1 lead. And the fact that you did is not okay. I think Joe Mazzulla is a good coach, but I think he is very much overrated because he's unable to adapt. He's got a game plan and he won't change it. That's not good. That's it. Situationally, you have to see that three ball is not working. And it happened. It happened in the series against New York last year, and it happened against Philadelphia this year. It was just no ability to adapt in that moment. I just think Missoula's overrated. I don't know. That's just what it is. There's no excuse for any of that. Jay saying we should do that. Bring the equipment, go to random Little League games, and stream the play-by-play of a random Little League game on a Saturday morning. That would actually be sick. We would just get like, and he's round first. There he goes a second. Oh my gosh, that would be. I would love to do like broadcasting practice. Just go to games and start commentating on what's happening. I would love that. That would be so much fun. Marcus also saying the flop-tastic 76ers came into New York tonight looking to flop their way to a Game 1 win. Joel Embiid has found new way for flop his way to the ground, and we will see more of that in round 2. The battle of chopped cheese versus Philly cheesesteak, 8 p.m. Well, 8 p.m., let's be honest, it's really 8:15 because that's every time. But here's the other thing about the 76ers. I will give them their credit. Joel Embiid was way more engaged in that series than I thought he could possibly ever be at this point in his career. Paul George, from a complete regression last year, has actually stepped up and played reasonable defense and actually was beating a lot of the screen game that Boston was trying to set up and made it difficult for Boston to get the three-point looks that they usually get. The problem, and I think it's going to be very interesting. I think this is always an entertaining series. I mean, I especially because I think with how much Embiid and Cat hate each other, this is just going to be a fun series purely based off that alone, whether it's 4 games or 7, regardless, either way. But the problem, I think, with the 76ers versus the Knicks, and really why I think the 76ers are going to lose in this series, and I think the Knicks will take it in 6 or 7, depending on what ends up going, which way it goes. I would say the reason is just small details. Like, the Knicks just have home court. Like, playing in Madison Square Garden is going to matter, right? Being, just in general, healthier than the Sixers are is going to matter. Like, do you really feel confident that Embiid's not going to be limping the whole time? Like, we saw it even in Game 7 and Game 6 against Boston. Like, he was clearly constantly in physical pain. It's just very unlikely that the 76ers are going to be fully healthy the full time. And it's very unlikely that the 4 of Embiid and Maxey and Edgecombe and Paul George all peak in this series because they're what are they running? They're running like a 6-man rotation. Like, it's not going to be enough against a Knicks team that has a lot of, like, when you see Cat facilitating and playing the way he is, Brunson being the clutch scorer that he is, when you look at OG Anunoby being the physical specimen that he is, or even like I know Mikal Bridges has struggled in multiple points in the Hawks series. He did have who didn't have a decent game in Game 6 against the Hawks? But Mikal Bridges also started to find his footing again. So I just think the Knicks can get away with more error in this series than the 76ers can. Like, the 76ers need to be close to flawless, where the Knicks, I think, can afford a couple mistakes or two. Philly's got to do a lot more in this series to really have that chance to win it. I'm leaning towards Knicks probably in 7, just because I want the series to go to 7 games. But I do think the Knicks are just more well equipped and they're healthier. Like, there's no other way to beat around that bush, right? They just feel like a healthier team. The energy in Madison Square Garden, especially Game 1, is going to be electric. The only way, to me, I think if the 76ers can win Game 1, then I think it goes to 7. If they don't, I think it goes to 6. That's my logic. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see where things go. I think this will still be a very entertaining series, but I just don't think Philadelphia has enough to stay healthy throughout the rest of it. It's just too much to ask. Jay also saying, I will say it if nobody will say it. I will be including playoffs. Edgecombe. I will be including playoffs. Edgecombe had a better year than Cooper Flagg. That's a crazy one, Jay. Didn't Coop have like a 50-point game? Or like maybe it was 40? I don't know. VJ was great at the start, but for Cooper Flagg the rest of the year, It's close. I would still say, I'll say this. I'll give you this. If you include playoffs, then Edgecombe has definitely had a better year than Con Knipple. If you include playoffs. But I think Coop is, I also think, I think including playoffs, obviously you would say you get a lot of the bump over to VJ, but Coop was doing a lot this year. Coop, especially down the stretch. I just don't see it. I'd love to say I see it. I'd love to say I see it, Jay. And I love VJ, and I hope he's a great player for years. But I would still say Coop. We're at odds on that one. I don't know if I can give it to VJ on that one. To Veg. To Vag J Edcombe. Can't do it. But in this series, I'm going to roll with the Knicks, man. I think it's really hard. It's really hard for me to see the 76ers making their way out of it. They would need a lot to go their way for it to be the case, which has happened before. I mean, we saw what the Pacers did last year against the Knicks, so I don't want to say that anything's impossible, but I am going to roll with the Knicks in this series. Also, moving on to another second series tonight, Timberwolves Spurs. This one now was not as intriguing until probably earlier today. Let me pull up the article real quick so I can just read. I'm just going to read it tip for tap because, what was it? The idea that, I think it was, what was it? It was Ant who had he had a bone bruise and a hyperextended knee. So we have, and this was approximately 2 weeks ago against the Nuggets. Approximately, give or take. And they are saying that he has a very real shot to play in this game one against San Antonio, despite the fact that A, that's a crazy injury to be coming back from in 2 weeks from, but also B, as long as he clears like his pregame walkthrough and routine, which is nuts. I know the Timberwolves are going to be out Osu Odeniemu. They're going to be out down Osu, so that's. They're still going to be down Osa. That's going to be tough. But I'm excited for this series for a couple of reasons. First of all, the idea that San Antonio, while very much being a juggernaut, I would say, and still outside of probably OKC, like the next favorite to win the whole thing, they're very much the new kids on the block. Let's not act like they are not the young talent coming in. Whereas Minnesota, who isn't necessarily old by any means, would say definitely has more veteran experience. I mean, this is their third straight year, getting to the conference semis, getting into the second round. It's going to be very interesting to see what Ant looks like in game one and how healthy he is, because I guarantee you he's not 100%. I would argue he is likely far from it, all things considering. And going into this matchup against San Antonio, that's going to be one of the more interesting headlines. Is Ant fully healthy? The answer there is no. But the next follow-up is, what kind of health is he looking at entering game one, going up against Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox and Wemby? It's a very good Spurs roster. It's just very good. Despite the fact that it is young, it is very talented, and Wemby is just one of those. The way Wemby even talks about the game, too, he was talking about the interview, or he was interviewed prior to talking about Minnesota, and just the way he talks about a team that, let's not forget, Minnesota's banged up, they're down Dante DiVincenzo, and is still very much probably reeling, and he's like, well, there's a very talented team, they got a lot of good players, and they do, and especially one of those players being Frenchman versus Frenchman, Victor Wembanyama against Rudy Gobert. That's going to be a super entertaining battle, especially with what Gobert was doing against Jokic in the Nuggets series. That was very impressive overall by Rudy, and now we get to see him go up against Wemby as well. Listen, I mean, put it this way. If the Timberwolves, I'm not saying that they do, but if the Timberwolves were to find a way to get all the way to the finals and win it, it would probably be because Rudy Gobert had an incredibly incredible run of just being a monster. Like let's say hypothetically, if the Timberwolves were to win, I would presume that they would play these teams. They would obviously have beaten the Nuggets and Jokic. They would have downed Wemby and the Spurs. Then they would have to go up against the Thunder, which would be Chet and Hartenstein, which is not easy. And then, I mean, pretty much you could argue against anybody in the finals with their bigs, going up against either Embiid, either Cat, like Mobley and Jared Allen with the way they played against the Raptors, and then like I guess Jalen Duren somehow the weakest of that group. But if that were the case, if somehow the Timberwolves made it all the way through, and then their MVP of the entire playoffs would have to be Rudy, because that's just how I think important he is to this team and the way they play, either offensively, but really obviously defensively. But I mean, my goodness, that'd be such an interesting storyline and headline. That being said, I don't think the Timberwolves have a real shot in this one. I'm going to be honest, and I'll tell you why. And, well, I don't even need to tell you. The answer is obvious. The answer is Victor Wembanyama. Wemby's just too much. And when you're talking about having to go score in the paint against him, I mean, when you watch the series against Portland is a great example. Denny Adviat and company just didn't want to go into the basket. And it ends up leading to a lot of these teams being forced to jack up threes. They jack up threes over the course of the entire game. They don't have opportunities to get into the paint because nobody wants to take the chance against Wemby, because the whole point is, it's like basically useless. So they don't do it. They jack up threes. They eventually get cold. Like, you basically have to be hot from three the whole game if you want to beat San Antonio, because it's very unlikely you're going to be able to do much in the paint. And that's basically what happens, right? That happened in the series against Portland, and with being down a Dante DiVincenzo and with Ant still very much battling through injury, I don't think they have enough perimeter shooters to be able to do that against San Antonio. Listen, doing it against Denver is one thing, because Denver was not very good. When we talk about Jamal Murray struggling, Jokic not playing incredibly well, Aaron Gordon not being healthy at key moments, right? That's one thing. But if you're looking at San Antonio, they've got really none of those weaknesses that Denver showed in the first round. I think just it's going to be infinitely harder. It's going to be infinitely harder for Minnesota. And I got to tell you, man, I think this is a Spurs and at worst, I think 6. I think this is like Spurs and 6. I really think it's closer to Spurs and 5, just because I think even with Anthony Edwards coming back, there's just too much. There's too much unknown about how healthy is Ant and what will he be able to do coming off a bone bruise and hyperextended knee. I don't know. I don't know what we'd be looking at there. That's where we kind of have. That's where we kind of have the issue. I just don't see Wemby and the Spurs struggling at all. Not with Ant in the condition that he is. I just think especially with the way Wemby just had no. I mean, the last game was what? It was 17, 14, and 6, and 6 was blocks. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so difficult. And I mean, even then they were able to beat Portland without him for a game. Like, that just doesn't happen. That just does not happen. Even without Wemby, this team is still very good. But because they have him, I mean, they have a real shot against OKC. I think that's really what we're waiting for, is that Western Conference Finals, and it just feels like we're ticking down to when that ultimately happens to decide who's going to be the winner of the whole thing. Jay saying, just look at that confidence the vets have with VJ. The Mavs, a young team, and Cooper is going to be great. But when the vets are getting you the ball in clutch time, it shows something. That's fair. That's fair for guys to recognize how good VJ Edgecombe is. I like guys like Maxey, guys like Embiid and George getting him the ball. No, I can definitely see your point. I just think when you look at the peaks and valleys, I think Cooper's highs are just higher. I think that's kind of the point of. If you want to say like an award, especially like Rookie of the Year, and you could argue the better year, the better player. I still would say I would give it to Coop, just because of the athleticism and the athletic plays, what he did all year on a bad team. They'd really, to be honest, I mean, especially because he was down all of his star players. Like, there was no AD, no Kyrie, no anything, right? It was basically just Cooper Flag and a bunch of everybody else. Whereas VJ is an interesting case where he's not also the best guy in his team. Right? Like VJ's very good, but he's not Maxey. I wouldn't even argue he's better than Embiid, right? Like he's the third best player on that team, which allows him to make those plays and the vets to trust him in those situations. Whereas you look at Cooper Flagg, it became very clear very quickly, yeah, that's their best player. I think that context does matter a little bit. Not to say that, and not to say they take anything away from Edgecombe. Edgecombe's a very talented player. I think he can very easily, I think that he can very easily be this team's number 2. Or even maybe if you squint at it, he could be a 1B. But I don't want to disrespect Maxey by saying that, so I would say probably a 2. If they were he could fit right into be a very good second scoring option for the 76ers. But I just the difference between him and Cooper Flagg is still, it's not like as wide as people think, but it is still fairly wide, if that makes sense. Marcus also saying, my NBA sources are telling me Ant-Man was never injured. Instead, he was searching and found an Instagram model as he chases his Sean Kemp Phillip Rivers numbers. Yeah, is he chasing his Crow numbers? His Antonio Cromartie numbers? Oh my gosh. You know what? Ant's gonna... this is gonna sound weird. I think Ant... does Ant end up in New York? No. I know people always saying, like, at one point Ant's going to end up in New York. Honestly, if Ant goes anywhere else outside of Minnesota, it's going to be Miami. I think Anthony Edwards at some point will be a Miami Heat. I don't know when, but I'm going to make that prediction now that I think it's going to happen. And that is where he will get his Kemp and Rivers numbers up. Mark's also saying the war of frogs in this series. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for the War of Frogs. I do think that the Spurs though will just handle business. I don't think they'll blow them out necessarily in most of these games. I think these games will be close. I just think, and yeah, the Timberwolves still are very talented, but I think the youth. You can argue the experience will play a factor for Minnesota, so I could see it maybe lasting a little longer than 5 games, potentially going to 6. But San Antonio is just. Wemby's just such a unique player that it makes it so difficult. Makes it so difficult to play against them and to be able to get any real sort of advantage because they basically know what you're doing at a certain point. You know, it makes it tough. Mark's also saying Ant-Man, Josh Primo minus the flashing. I see. Yep, I could see that. Just. The one other thing before I'll finish and I'll get into the other 2 series. The one thing about specifically Minnesota, I want to talk about Denver. I'm surprised Adelman still has his job today. I wouldn't let him keep it. And the other thing I would say about Denver, the Denver Nuggets, because I mean, listen, Portland upstart, they played the San Antonio Spurs the best they could. It's not like you can only ask so much, especially for a team that fired its coach at the beginning of the year due to the whole gambling thing and. Tiago Splitter coming in and allowing Denny Advia to flourish. I think actually that was a huge change that I don't think with Chauncey Billups at the helm that Denny Advia has the season that he does. But regardless, for Denver, they're kind of getting dangerously close to what Milwaukee is. I don't think they're that far away from getting to a point where the Bucks are because the reality is Denver. What they did, they made a lot of very passive, safe moves. And Milwaukee kind of did the same thing after they won their championship. And now they've just regressed to being to the point where they have to trade Giannis. And if the Nuggets keep going the way that they are, I would not doubt it if they end up doing something similar in a few years with Jokic. Because, and the problem is, I don't know if Jokic is going to be... Because at least with Giannis, there's certain athletic things that you like about him. I don't know what Jokic's trade value might be in a few years. I don't know. He'll probably still be very good. But it's weird to me that Denver now is kind of trapped, right? Jamal Murray just had his worst playoffs in years. You've got Aaron Gordon, who very good defender, but never healthy. I mean... Denver's gotten worse each year. Yes, they were very competitive against the Thunder in last year's, but this year, against an injury-depleted Timberwolves team, And I get it. Minnesota's always matched up well with Denver, but they were down and DiVincenzo, and they still comfortably beat you. Like, they beat you guys. Like, I don't know. I think something needs to change. I think they need to be a little bit more aggressive in free agency. I think they really need to go get another like better player. Like, they're kind of just passive. Like, they still very much felt like the same team that they were last year, except they just lost earlier. So, like, are you going to move Aaron Gordon? Would you consider moving Jamal Murray if it got you a better player, right? If it made you a better team? Because if you sit here as a small market team and make passive decisions, right, you're going to end up like Milwaukee and just in a position down the line where you're just going to be, where you're going to be stuck with just maybe being forced to trade Jokic because you're no longer in that position. And the worst part is you're in the tougher conference, which means that can happen way faster than you would think. As opposed to Milwaukee, who was in a weak conference, and you could argue, well, they could have held on. But it's just, I know it's not the same exact situation, but I would be concerned if I'm the Denver Nuggets and that series ended the way it was, and I don't make any big moves in free agency or the draft. More particularly free agency, but to not make a big move would be a concern for me if I'm the Nuggets. So those are the two series that'll play tonight. Tonight, I will say the Knicks and the Spurs will win the games tonight in Game 1. I'm going to preview the other two series that'll tip off tomorrow, and I'm excited for this one. I think Cavs-Pistons is probably going to be the most entertaining of the series we have in round 2. I think this is the one that is most likely to go to 7 games of all of the 4 series. Just because both teams went to Game 7s in the first round, so it kind of makes sense that they'd go to Game 7 in the second round. Let's talk Cavs. I think at time, the Cavs were definitely were interesting in that series, in the sense that they, especially obviously in Game 7, I mean, we saw what Jared Allen was doing. We saw that the Cavs finally just put the Raptors to bed officially. But I think what's so unique and interesting is that the Cavs are very well, even more so equipped to beat them than the Pistons and the Magic. Because I would have thought the Magic would have just gotten swept. But the fact that the Magic were able to put up a 7-game series, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Pistons will react and defend themselves against a Cavs team that is way more primed to beat them. Detroit's, I mean, they are one of the best paint defending teams. When we talk about the 7 games that they played against Detroit, against the Orlando Magic, they dominated. What was the stat? The stat was crazy, yeah. Pistons limited the Magic to 45.6% shooting in the paint in the first round. That is the worst mark of any team in any playoff series in 7 years. In the last 7 years, that is the worst mark of any team. So when you talk about paint defense and being a gritty, chippy, in-your-face team with Thompson, with Duran, they do that very well. They are a hard-nosed defensive team. Cleveland, on the other hand, is very different. They're very offensive-based, and that was made obvious based on 2 things. 1, they have Donovan Mitchell, and 2, mid-season, they trade for James Harden. And that's exactly what their plan was, and it worked. And it worked for especially the first stretch of the series against the Raptors. I think in the first 3 games, they combined for like 112. First 2 games, it was like combined for 112 points, something crazy. It might have been the first 3. Not the first 2. First 2 seems like a lot. But they may have actually been, I'm going to say it may have been the first 2. That's just what they were doing. Mitchell and Harden were dominating. They were making big plays. When you talk about Mitchell's ability to go inside, to be a slasher, to be able to get those big shots outside the perimeter, and then James Harden with his, step back ability to get fouls, right? That to me is what they've done. There's incredibly impressive. And then of course, if Jared Allen, Evan Mobley are on their game, then you have a freight train that can just kind of get away from you, and that's exactly what happened to Toronto in Game 7. The issue for me with the Pistons, and I think the issue has become abundantly clear after that series, and wasn't as clear in the regular season, but it became very clear very early. They need a secondary shooter. And really, the only reason they won Game 7 was because they finally got that second scoring option in Tobias Harris. I mean, Tobias Harris dropping 30 was just, what was it, 30? It was either, it was 1.27, but I'm pretty sure it finished as 30. For Tobias Harris to drop 30 points in a closeout game was absurd. And we know that Cade's going to provide what he provides. And even credit Orlando as well. Like, I'm not, I made a lot of comparisons to Paolo as like CJ Stroud. He's not that. He's not CJ. From what I've seen, especially in that series, you can't really put... there are moments that you can put on Paolo, but Paolo did a lot. I mean, I feel like in moments, he needed guys like Desmond Bane to step up and get 28 or like a 25 to a 30-point game. You can't blame Paolo. I think Paolo definitely rose in this playoff series more than he shrank. And I mean, come on, it's an 8 seed against a 1 seed. There's only so much you can ask out of your best player in that position. I think Paolo was good. And I think when you look at Detroit, for them, that this kind of moment, and again, like I think Cade is a playoff riser. I do. I think Cade's also a playoff riser. I mean, listen, they were down 3-1. Cade Cunningham kept getting them points, facilitating offense, getting the Pistons in position to come back and win the series. And again, I think if Detroit wants to continue to do this, they have to do one of two things. They have to, one, they do have to continue to play great defense. But number two, someone has to be a second scorer. It cannot just be Cade 24/7. Someone needs to step up. If it's Tobias Harris, fine. But it needs to be somebody. Because without that, Cleveland, with their ability to score, with Mitch, with Harden, with Mobley, with even Jared Allen playing the way he is, Max Strus also playing incredibly like chippy, in your face kind of hard-nosed mentality. I think if you're Detroit, you need that scoring. You need that scoring if you want to be able to if you want to be able to make a run, if you want to salvage this postseason after what was a very slow start. And I mean, they've already salvaged it so far, but if you want to continue to salvage it and continue to go on, beat Cleveland, you're going to need some more secondary scoring options. So I'll say this, I think there's opportunity for them to do that, but if it's Tobias Harris every night, fine. I just don't think it's going to be Tobias Harris every night. And it's why I have Cleveland. I have Cleveland in this series, and I have Cleveland winning tomorrow, to be honest. I think Cleveland their way of playing finesse basketball is just going to be a little bit too much for the intensity and sort of the lunch pail attitude of the Detroit Pistons, just because if the Pistons had a second scoring option, we're having a different conversation. But you're going to tell me Tobias Harris is going to do that 4 times in the series. You would need Tobias Harris to do that at minimum 4 times for the Pistons to beat the Cavs. I just don't see it. And I don't see it from anybody else. I don't see it from Thompson. Jalen Duren had one decent, again, same thing. Duren needs to do that 4 games. And if he could only do it 1 game against the Magic, then what are we, you know what I mean? Trust me, Wendell Carter Jr. is one thing. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are 2 entirely different things. So I don't think that Tobias Harris and Jalen Duren are going to be able to play at that level for 4 out of the 7 games against Cleveland. Whether that ends up being the case or not. Whether they play 7 or not. I just don't think they'll be able to do it for 4 of them. And I think that's going to lead to a Cavs series win, and I would have the Cavs winning tomorrow. It's just too much to ask for. Other side note, though, credit to the Raptors. They played very well for a team that I thought maybe could keep it close, but I didn't think they'd keep it as close as they did, so I want to give Toronto a lot of credit. And I'm going to give, again, I already gave him credit, but I'm going to give Paolo credit. I think Paolo played well. I think he rose to the occasion. I also think Mosley definitely needed to go. John Mosley, brother needed to go. I mean, I understand, you could make an argument, but don't settle for that. That was, especially if they had won the series, and then, even if they had won the series and then get swept next round, I wouldn't have kept them. I just think the idea that you have, this, any 3-1 lead, especially, in the first 3 rounds, getting eliminated in the first round, and then finally with Jamal Mosley having the proverbial, it's over now, right? That kind of thing. I I wouldn't want to bring him back, and I think the Magic made the right move moving off of him. So good job with the Magic making the right decision there. Sorry, Mosley, but you were bad. You were bad. You got eliminated from the first round 3 years in a row. Like, it's done. Nothing else for you here. Go. And they were also, like, I'm pretty sure a worse seed every single time. Like, it's not good enough. Not good enough. Got to be better. So that being said, I do think the Cavs are going to win this series. I'll give it to them in 7. I'll say they'll win this either like maybe 6, but I will say 7. I think that this series does go to 7. And I think they're two very different teams. I think it's going to be a very entertaining series overall. So go Cavs, I guess. I would be fine with either team advancing, but I think the Cavs are going to pull it out. And then finally, the series that I'm a little very scared for is Lakers Thunder. Now, obviously, a couple things. Obviously, we know the Thunder, they swept Phoenix, and we know that the Lakers completely dusted the Rockets. Before I get into this series, let me take 30 seconds to dumpster all over the Rockets. The Rockets were embarrassing. The Rockets were so embarrassingly atrocious. The fact that Luka did not play the entirety of this series, and yet LeBron just sent y'all packing. Just said, and you know what's crazy? Apparently their roster is going to be the same next year. I'm surprised Udoka still has his job today. I'm still shocked that was the statement that they made, because I wouldn't. I would have been furious with this Rockets team, especially after last year being the 2 seed and the expectations they had coming into the year being significantly worse, being completely outcoached. Ime Udoka getting completely outcoached by JJ Redick. Bronny James having some of his best basketball we've ever seen him. Credit to Bronny James actually stepping up and playing well as a rotational player. And then LeBron just completely dumpstering all over you when they don't even have their 2 best players for the majority of that. Like, they don't have AR nor Luka for the majority of that series. Yeah, ridiculous. Now, anyway, enough about the Rockets. I just wanted to poop all over them because they're bad. Thunder and Lakers. This series, I'm going to be honest, this series to me screams Thunder in 5. Just screams Thunder in 5. Just because the Thunder had so much rest, there's so much talent. The Lakers are just straight up down Luka Doncic. Listen, the Rockets are one thing. The Thunder are an entirely different story. What is it? The Lakers were held already. I think weren't the Lakers held under 100 points like 5 out of the 6 games in that series outside of that one overtime game. And then we're looking at, the Thunder just being a generally great defensive team, even more so than the Rockets. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a concern. That's a concern for a team without Luka. That's a concern for a team that's just generally not fully healthy. And I love LeBron. Listen, let me say this. Let me put it this way. If LeBron beats the Thunder, maybe there's some LeBron magic. LeBron just goes sicko mode, completely beats the Thunder. If LeBron beats the Thunder in this series, I'll say this. If LeBron finds a way to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in any amount of games in this series, it's over. The debate for who the best player of all time is in the NBA is officially over. In my opinion, it's been over for a while. But this series would absolutely solidify that. Because this OKC team is straight up all kinds of evil. They are stacked at every position and then stacked at that position again on the bench. They have the most diabolical whistle known to mankind. And if LeBron James puts on the Superman cape, the Batman goggles, and the Wonder Woman bracelets and beats the Oklahoma City Thunder to go to the Western Conference Finals, I never want to hear another person ever in my life try to argue that Michael Jordan is better. If you try to say that right now, I'm like gonna have like my own mute button for you and just mute you right there, because there's nothing that would ever be able to be said again. Which is kind of why, not kind of. Obviously, I'm annoyed at the Thunder in general, and I don't want to see a repeat champ. It just would annoy me. But again, if LeBron finds a way to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder with without Luka Doncic, can you think about that, by the way? Let's think about that. LeBron already has more playoff wins without his teammate, a teammate like Luka or Austin Reeves, than Michael Jordan ever had without Pippen. Like, it still blows my mind that this is a thing. And yet, if LeBron beats the Thunder, the conversation is dead. If LeBron found a way, genuinely, I believe this. I believe that there are Michael Jordan fans rooting for the Thunder on the sole fact that they know that if Bron wins against this team, of all teams, then it's dead. It's done. There's no more debate. It's over. It ends. It ends immediately. It would be gone from existence. It would evaporate in dust like Thanos snapping his fingers. Michael Jordan would permanently be the second best basketball player of all time. Permanent. Never number one again. It would be impossible. So that's the main reason I want the Lakers to win. Now, I don't think it happens. I think the Thunder are too talented. I think the Lakers don't have enough healthy players. I think the Thunder will win in 5. Maybe 4. I know, they won't sweep. I'll say 5. I don't think they'll sweep. But this is, I gotta tell you, it'd be so entertaining. It'd be so fun, and it'd be fun for a couple reasons. Number one, to think already, like, first of all, the Rockets, like, genuinely, I looked up a list of players who had less points in these playoffs than, like, Bronny James, and I saw Jonas Valanciunas on there. Ryan Dunn was on there. Like, there were some players that were just. Bronny James, believe it or not, is actually being a semi-decent rotational player in LA. It's kind of nuts. It's kind of ludicrous. I want to see this happen so bad. Obviously, I don't think it happens, but if it happens, I cannot wait for the copium that is going to come, that would come from Bull. Like, I don't think that copium, there would ever be any more copium ever. Like, there would be no way. Like, it would be the strongest hit of copium. It would put you in the hospital in real time with how much it would be. It would be absurd. And it would be so funny, though. So much fun. This needs to happen. LeBron, if you can hear me, beat the Thunder so the debate can end. So we can finally know definitively who the best basketball player is. Definitively we can know. Oh my gosh. I hope so. I really hope it does happen. Jay is also saying, Bron has to retire to play baseball, then come back, win a few more titles to be better than MJ. He'll just do that then too. Like, he'll be playing till he's 50. Watch, Jay. It's gonna happen. We all know what Bron's gonna do. He's gonna come out. He's gonna go play baseball. Actually, no. He's gonna go play football in his 40s. He's gonna play football instead. He's gonna one up the baseball one. Marcus saying Ryan Dunn wasn't just a jackass. He was a baller. I wish Ryan Dunn was better, man. Ryan Dunn's not the same guy I was hoping he was. He's not quite the rotational player I wish he could have been. But, well, you know what? Maybe he'll still blossom, but I don't think it's going to happen. Regardless, that's who I have. So let's recap. Number 1, Knicks or 76ers. Tonight, I have the Knicks winning. I have the Knicks winning in 6, potentially 7 games. But I do think the Knicks will win the series regardless against the 76ers. And what I hope is a 7-game series. Matchup number 2, with the Timberwolves being undermanned, I just don't think they'll have enough firepower in them, especially with an injured Ant and with no Dante DiVincenzo. I will have the Spurs winning in 5. Third series, Cavs-Pistons. Very entertaining. I still have the Cavs taking it in 7. I think the Cavs and their finesse will just be more than enough to take down the Detroit Pistons. I don't see Jalen Duren and Tobias Harris having enough good games for them to be able to help out Cade and win the series. Unless Cade drops 80, in that case, whatever. I'll just take that risk. But I have the Cavs in 7. And then finally, the Lakers and the Thunder. Unfortunately, I predict that the Thunder will win in 5. But hopefully I'm wrong, and we can see... hopefully I'm wrong, and we can see the Lakers win this series. So, we can definitively have the GOAT in LeBron James. And Michael Jordan can finally rest easy knowing that he is the second best basketball player of all time. I said rest easy like he's dead. He's not dead, but go to bed comfortably, knowing that he is the second best basketball player of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Free Refill episode 61. If you enjoyed watching, make sure, of course, you leave a like, you comment on the video, you go ahead and share it with your pals and gals. You really, honestly, that's how you know ball. And you pull up to the bar, who do you show? Like, have you ever heard of Prime Time with Phil? Have you ever heard of Prime Time? Ever heard of Free Refill? Go check it out. So it's get into your pores, seep it into your brain. Listen to the knowledge that I bestow. Game's about to tip off in 15 minutes. I'm going to go make some dinner, crack open a beer, watch the Knicks versus 76ers. I'll say this also, closing remarks. One thing that I have that makes me almost not want to root for either team is that, number one, I have a lot of Knicks friends, and I just think it would be funny to, watch the Knicks lose again, because then they can just, mauled. But also, I do not like Philadelphia sports. I can't stand Philly sports. It's all because, I don't know, it's all because of one content creator. I've talked about her before, so me just saying her probably gave it away. But if you know who I'm talking about, just one of the most unfunny people I've ever seen in my life. One of the most unfunny non-ball knowers I've ever seen. I can't believe that they get as much attention as they do. So that's also why I want Philly to lose. I don't know. I'm going to be hate-watching this series regardless. But, not completely hate-watching, because I do hope the Knicks win, because my mother is a Knicks fan, so I know she'd be happy if they won. So not complete hate-watch, but pretty close. Pretty close to a complete hate-watch. So, let me see. Marcus saying, Fort Myers, Florida mother was arrested on Saturday after authorities said she interfered in a youth football game and kicked the child who was playing. If any mother attacks my child, I am turning into Bill Romanski. If a mother attacks my child, that mother's not seeing again. I'm sorry. If nobody's attacking my kid. Somebody attacks my kid, they're gonna have so many things coming. It's gone. They may not exist anymore. They swipe from public record. That person is just gone for good. Mark is saying, the chick that was supposed to get impregnated by the homeless men. Yes. yeah. Marcus knows who I'm talking about. Marcus knows who I'm talking about. But no, yeah. That's all I have. That's all I have for this evening. I hope you guys have had a good one. I hope you guys have a good weekend. Or good weekend. What the heck? It's a Monday. Oh my God. My brain is all over the place. I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be talking about the games that happen tonight. I'll be previewing the games tomorrow. That's all I have. That's all I have for this evening. I will see you guys next time. And make sure you're new. If you're new, subscribe. If you enjoyed the content, like the video. I will see you all in the next one. Have a good night. Enjoy tonight's games. Have a good one, guys. Peace.